I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Okay, good morning and welcome for the council meeting for Tuesday the 13th of June. Councillors, firstly I'd like to open the meeting and pay acknowledgement to country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land in which we meet today, the Darrarumble people, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to our neighbouring Aboriginal people within our local government area, the Gungaloo Nation people, the Barada, Cabelbarra and Yeddamarala people. I also acknowledge the Torres Strait Islander people who live and work on Torres Straits, but live and work on Aboriginal lands. Thank you. Thank you, councillors, and we might welcome Pastor Don McCall from the Calvary Lutheran Church to say a meeting this morning. Just to the lectern, thanks, Pastor.
Good morning, everybody, and hey, it's great to be invited here on this cool morning. Well, I don't have a lot of information about what I'm doing except that I've been asked to come and pray. How does that sound? Let's pray.
Please do.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the mighty things that you've done in this world and that you continue to do for us. We ask, Lord, that you be with our region, that you bless us, that you bless all our peoples, that you bless the council staff, Lord, that work for us, the people, those people who do good things for us to improve our lives, to lift us up. We ask for your blessing on all of our industry, Lord, on all of our crops, our cattle, on our education. We ask for your blessing on our peoples. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks very much, Pastor. Okay. Okay, councillors, we don't have any apologies. Councillor Kirkland's online, so we have a full house. Councillors, could I seek confirmation of the previous minutes? Am I able to confirm the whole in one motion, Mr Mayor? Mr CEO. I'm totally thrown off that one. Councillors, I seek a recommendation that the minutes from the meeting on the 24th of May, the 31st of May and the 7th of June be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Could I have a mover? Move Councillor Latcham. Seconded, Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Declarations of interest on matters on the agenda. How could we guess Councillor Smith?
Oh, look, I get withdrawal symptoms when I haven't got one. And Karen was right onto it as well.
Yeah.
So I have a declaration in 10.2, conflict of interest, community assistance program, major application. I declare I have a material personal interest in the matter regarding the hill sprint. Due to the fact my brother's, John McAvoy, his land is straight across from the Hill Sprint depot, and also my sister Trish McKinnon and Don McKinnon, her husband, own property just down the road in Poison Creek Road. So I'll be dealing with this declared interest by leaving the meeting while the matter is discussed and voted on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Kirkland, I know you've...
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. Item 10.2 as well. As a driver of the Mount Morgan Gold Rush, my husband Brett is required to be a member of the club. He's got no office holding positions, he doesn't attend meetings and he doesn't sponsor anything. Regardless, I'm flagging it as a potential perceived conflict of interest, though I would argue that no benefit or loss greater than the rest of the community exists in this case, and believe that it's previously been voted on and carried that I don't have a conflict. Felt necessary to bring it up though.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillors, no questions to Councillor Kirkland with regards to that? Thanks very much for raising that, Councillor. We'll move on to our reports if there's no further declarations. Thanks, councillors. We move straight into officers' reports. 10.1, the Bowen Basin Mining Club, July 22 luncheon sponsorship. Oh, sorry, I do have a petition. Sorry, councillor, if I can hold back on that. Sorry, Mary. Presentation of a petition. I have one from Councillor Kirkland with regards to providing safety initiatives for the White and Knight Streets. Am I required to read all? I'll pass over to Councillor Kirkland if you'd like to speak to that petition. Thanks very much, Councillor Kirkland.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Thanks, councillors. This petition has been presented. I'll read it out as it is stated. It is a petition. We, the undersigned, hereby respectfully request the Rockhampton Regional Council, 1, to provide safety initiatives in White and Knight Streets, such as concrete footpaths to provide safe passage for pedestrians. Currently, no safe footpath exists, with pedestrians, including school children and mothers with prams, walking on the bitumen road into oncoming traffic. Neither are there currently any safety verges or bike tracks along the roadside. A zebra crossing or a similar across White Street and the railway line at Main and White Street intersection. They request an installation of a speed limit sign and a blind curve mirror on White Street opposite Lauger Street. Secondly, White Knight Street is a busy connector with very heavy traffic flows at school times, including B-doubles, learner truck drivers, concrete trucks, pink lily trucks, Seaver cart carriage trucks, etc., heightening great risk on blind curves. 3, we respectfully additionally ask that Council reprioritise the delivery of these requests, committing to a delivery time frame of no less than 1 year, as this connector road is growing busier by the week. Councillors, I support this petition. The footpaths there's no footpath here. We've got students travelling from both Park Avenue School as well as St Joseph's School, walking those footpaths, walking the road, literally walking on the road at times, heading down to Colts Rugby Park. They also use that to walk to Kershaw Gardens. There's been snake sightings because the grass gets so long along the railway verge there, because if they're wanting to walk along the railway side of White Street where there is a little bit of grass there, and when the grass is long, of course, they've seen snakes, but to get that grass mowed, because it also parallels into TMR, it is an issue. I'd like to put a motion forward that, if I might, that we get a report from council officers and bring that back as an action from this petition, bring that back to the table, a report, and certainly in addressing the requests of these petitioners today.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillors, we need a seconder for the presentation. Councillor Smith is the portfolio chair, that a report be prepared for the Infrastructure Committee. Seconded Councillor Smith. Councillors, any discussion with regards to that? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. My apologies, I was thinking the petition's presentation was at the end of the agenda, but not to be. That said, we'll move on back to the officers' reports and 10.1, the Bowen Basin Mining Club luncheon Thanks very much, Mary.
Good morning, Mayor and elected members. I would like to present Rocky Regional Council through Advance Rockhampton the opportunity to sponsor the annual Rockhampton Bowen Basin Mining Club luncheon. It's proposed the sponsorship be provided to continue promoting the Rockhampton region as a leader in the mining and resource industry sectors. This luncheon will be proposed to be held in June and would be a sponsorship of $5,000 ex-GST. Usually these events attract in the region of 300 attendees and key guest note speakers and mining representatives from throughout the Bowen Basin. So it really is a great opportunity again to showcase what Rockhampton has on offer for the mining resource industry and to have the local community benefit from the attraction of the 300 plus people to our region. I will hand over to you to consider the recommendation.
Thanks very much, Mary, and thank you for your first presentation to the council table. So well done. I'm sure Councillor Fisher will speak to the motion. I think it's something. I believe we've done this previously, and the networking and the contacts that are made through these luncheons are vital for the industry going forward, and that's something there. A lot of credit to Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher for his work in bringing these events to the CQ region and to Rockhampton. So I'll ask Councillor Fisher to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that acknowledgement. Rockhampton Regional Council has actually been represented at the Bowen Basin Mining Club almost from the start of the Bowen Basin Mining Club. And at the start, when we first attended, the comment was, "What are you doing here? You're a beef town," not realising some of the other towns like Mackay, Moranbah, that we had a very large contingent of people working and businesses in the resource sector. In fact, some areas there, it's within some of our schools, at least 1 in 4 of the parents, there's one working in the resource sector. It's also given the great support for our businesses, and in the Bowen Basin Mining Club, the awards. Each year we've had Rockhampton-based businesses there actually winning a number of those key awards as well. So it is very important to support it. I'd like to encourage support for this event, but would like to almost say next year we actually ask if we could hold the February meeting in Rockhampton as well as the normal traditional September meeting and take it to 2, because I think we've actually earned the stripes now. But this year I would like to support the July event. It is in Rockhampton, the change of the date because of the clash with the mining awards and the QME in Mackay. But I think of the future there, we're pushing really well in the mining sector, and we're seeing a lot of our small businesses suddenly becoming key partners in a lot of the new resource projects. So support this, and let's hope that we can have 2 meetings next year.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Councillors, any further questions or comments? Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a comment. I'd like to recommend too that maybe Councillor Fisher and Greg Bowden have an opportunity to present at that, if not already so. I mean, I know we'll have some marketing banners and so forth there, but to get right up in their face and promote it, is that something we can...
I'm sure Councillor Fisher might be able to ask the organiser, Jody, about whether they've got a 5 minutes of a presentation there. I'm not sure.
With the resource, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
You're right, yeah.
It is very much on a hierarchical support. The mayor, having a mayor at the meeting does have a lot more value in a mayor speaking than a deputy mayor or councillor. And at an event, to have actually the mayor in attendance actually means a lot. And when you're having tier 1 contractors, executives from mining companies, it is something that, and to your credit, you've made the effort, even on busy times of finishing a meeting here and then driving up for the Bowen Basin Mining Club. That has quite a positive effect on the whole industry. But I will always support that in that presentations and that as well.
See if that can be done, councillor. Yeah, for sure. Councillor Smith?
Oh yeah, just a comment. I think it's important it's held here in our own backyard that we fully support it. And I'm sure our businesses that deal with the mines, and there's quite a few of them, they'll be there as well. So it's really important that we support it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Okay, move Councillor Fisher. Do you have a second? And Councillor Latcham. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Okay, we have item 10.2. Councillor Smith, you have a conflict there and you wish to leave the meeting. We'll just wait for that.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors.
Thank you. Sure.
So we've had an application through our major sponsorship assistance for the Gold Rush event, which is actually going to be held the 9th and 10th of July, I think it is. So this is the third year running in terms of this event, and we're proposing to continue to support this event. Notably, the event last year ran at a loss, which the club has indicated that they can't, or they've absorbed that, but they're still seeking sponsorship for this next one. Speaking generally, so this assessment has been done with as similar all other assessments, and it's recommended that we give $15,000 to this event. That money, councillors, will come from this year's budget, which we've got the capacity to absorb. We're talking with you next week at Communities about the Community Assistance Program review, and possibly I'll grab you today just talking about a few things. But this one, notably, will come out of this year's budget, which has got that capacity. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Alicia. Councillors, questions to Alicia on this report? Councillor Wickerson?
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to support this. I think anything that, Tom, we get like a cluster of themed events is good for the region, pulls new money into the town. I see there they've estimated what the financial benefit will be, but from the last three events, and through to Alicia, I think, do we have more precise figures? Basically, how many people we've got from out of town, and from that we can estimate what the spin-off is in town?
It's certainly, that's part of their...
part of the assessment?
When they're submitting the... what's the word?
Reconcile, is it?
No, so after the acquittal.
Acquittal.
So as part of the acquittal of the grant, they actually have to submit how that event went.
Okay.
So I don't have that information to hand, Councillor, but we would have that.
And you're satisfied that the estimates are...
Yeah. Yes, they do that as part of that review, whether it's a realistic assessment or not. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Alicia. Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, again, like Councillor Wickerson, I support the event. What I was wondering is if we could relate to the committee, is that probably the lead up, a lot of the public don't know it's actually on until we get a call or an email or text after the event's completed. I didn't know that was on. Why didn't council sort of let us know? You explain, well, it's not actually a council event, but it is sort of something there. I think a lot of people there would attend if they knew it was on.
Yeah, so part of that response, I guess, to the loss last year is to improve the advertising around the promotions of the event. As part of sponsoring this event, this will go onto council's website that it's available, but I guess pushing that marketing for the event is their own responsibility. We'll have it on our events page, but that's sort of where it stops.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Councillor Rutherford?
Ms Mayor, I was under the understanding too that there's limited spectator areas, so marketing is not a great tool for them necessarily, because they already have a great following, and they're having to do runs to allow spectators to see. So I know that they're working on that, but it's one of those events that's already so popular, and because of where it's held, the spectators, the areas for spectators are limited to a degree.
Yeah. No, that's right. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Okay, Councillor, if there are no further questions to that report, could I seek a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Mathers. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Can we invite Councillor Smith back to the meeting, please? Thanks, Councillor Smith. Then we'll move on to item 10.3, the Building Management System Specialised Suppliers report.
So, good morning, Mayor and
Jane,
councillors.
thank you.
This report is for a specialised supplier for the Rockhampton Museum of Art and the Old Art Gallery and Pilbeam Theatre. So, for Rockhampton Museum of Art, the building management system monitors and controls all the technical services, air conditioning, lighting, ventilation and hydraulics. And it's currently through Oztech. So they're the exclusive service provider for this existing system, and they host the servers and the escalation procedures, which is why we are seeking authorisation to use them as a specialised supplier. Going to a new system would not be practical or a cost-effective option for council. Similar to the Old Art Gallery and Pilbeam Theatre, Siemens Limited is the current service provider, and they, although not as complex as the Rockhampton Museum of Art, have a very similar system in place.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rutherford, you got a question?
Just a question, if I could, and it's probably around the Old Art Gallery, Pilbeam Theatre. So is that the entire complex that we're talking about?
Yes, it is.
So the Old Art Gallery, are we looking at winding that back as far as, you know, the air conditioning, those specific requirements that were needed for an art gallery, I guess, are not needed any longer. So are we looking to wind that back?
Not at this stage, so we will engage them for the existing services that they provide, and then when we make a decision regarding the future of the site, we will look to wind services back. But they are interlinked, so if we wind it back for the Old Art Gallery, we'll also be winding it back for the Pilbeam.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Kirkland, question?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanting to know about the management system and how long it is until that needs replacing. I note in there that the contract goes, I think it is until it needs replacing. Can you give me some time frame on that?
It's likely to be the life of the building, so components will be replaced as they fail, but the system will remain in place until it's no longer fit for purpose.
And I have a second question, if I could, just around the fact that there's no other local companies that could actually tender for this. Are we certain that there's no other local companies that could tender for this specialised work?
Yes, we are confident that there is no local suppliers.
So you've done some research on that?
Yes, we have, yes. We have previously engaged local suppliers, but they have in turn subcontracted Siemens Limited for the Old Art Gallery and Pilbeam.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'm just asking questions that I'm sure the public would like for us to ask. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Sorry,
Sorry, just to add to that question, and it may not be apparent, is that it's the intellectual property of the systems that they have that, so the people that were contracted to own that intellectual property, so that's why there's no other people that can do it, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Alicia. Councillor Wickerson.
Just to add to that, thank you. I think most of us have seen the top floor of the art gallery and seen how sophisticated it is. I mean, I wouldn't want to be loose, cut loose into the spanner. But it's not just this management system is also the operating software, and they're so closely integrated that it's hard to extract one from the other. But all that said, have we benchmarked what a similar company would charge for a similar system? Because I always get a little bit anxious when it's exclusive rights for the life of the building and the system to maintain it, that how do we know we're getting, even though we have no choice, but how do we know we're getting good value for money there? We should still have the right to question, okay, is this a fair price for what we're getting, even though we have no choice of other suppliers without changing whole chunks of the system?
So I'll help in that response. So you've got the new art gallery. We've just implemented that system, so we're not going to change it out right now. That doesn't make sense at all.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
In terms of the old building, or the old art gallery and the Pilbeam Theatre, it's really possibly wrapped up in the end of life of that building and how many years we have to run, which I guess, so there's the future use of the gallery, which you've already raised here today, but it's also, at this point in time, we are managing that building to a finite life, and it's how much investment you also put into it. So if you were to change those systems over, that's more investment, which you still have the overgoing, like the management of. So probably not making good business sense to do that right now.
Peter Coford's online. I might ask Peter to just talk on the technical side, if that's okay, Alicia. Peter, did you want to...
He's in his lounge room, look at...
I don't think you got your mic on, Pete. We can't hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add, when this system was all being set up, we did benchmark against other galleries for the typical costs, and so we have done some benchmarking about these costs to operate. So we did that right up front.
Yep. I think the question is, in the future, can we still benchmark as we go along, or are we locked into that provider going forward?
As Alicia said, you've got to run this system to the end of life, and then you will reevaluate then.
Okay. Right.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Thanks very much. Very prudent questions, Councillor. It's something there that they need to ask those questions at these times, and they're sole provided. Thank you. Councillors, if there's no further questions, could I seek a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Kirkland. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to 10.4, the Gracemere Waste Transfer Station Design and Construction. Michael, present that report. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor and councillors. So the purpose of this report is to seek council's approval to award a contract for the construction of the Gracemere Waste Transfer Station. So some time ago, we did the design for this facility. It was actually designed in-house by council's design team, and following that design, we went out to open tender. We received a number of tender submissions. They varied in their application and in price. For those who aren't aware, the Gracemere site was a former Fitzroy Shire Council landfill. I understand it operated from around 1984 to 2015, at which time the landfill was replaced with a transfer station facility. I would say, however, that the transfer station facility was quite agricultural, okay, and not really fit for purpose for the community that it currently serves. So it was always understood that the next phase of this, so then in the last 12 months we've been working on the capping of the hill out there, which is the main part of the landfill. We have suffered from some delays due to some contractor constraints. But that capping project should be completed within the next 2 months. The next phase of this site is to then complete the final capping system beneath the current operating transfer station, and to redevelop a more suitable transfer station on top of that newly constructed final capping system. I guess the issue we've got is that as a part of the tender assessment process, the tender submissions were over what our budget allowance was. So part of the recommendation today is to allocate an additional $1.266 million to the capital budget for next financial year to allow us to award this contract. A point to note is that that additional money has been taken from RRWR's capital budget. So,
okay, thanks very much, Michael. Is that the total project cost?
The total project cost is about $3.5 million.
Okay. I think you've got a couple of questions there, so we'll go Councillor Rutherford and Councillor Smith. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford.
Mr Mayor, mine was the same, so 3.5 million including the 1.2?
Including, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why the difference, Michael?
Oh, it's a good question. Like at the time that we did the in-house design, we did our in-house costings using what we thought were appropriate rates that civil operations were, using at the moment. I guess the tenders just came back. There's a lot of material, so the final capping system involves a fairly substantial volume of clay and then road-based materials, and those materials make up probably or more than 1/3 of the total project cost, and I just think that's the current market we're in.
So, Mr Mayor,
Councillor.
if I could, there's a couple more. So is it a project that we could delay for a little bit, hoping that the market would change?
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor, not in my opinion. The facility is very run down. At the moment, we've got 2 bays that house the large 30-metre bins for the receipt of the waste. And with rains recently as well, about 2 weeks ago, I condemned one of those bays because the concrete structure was starting to crack and there was some slumping. So we've actually barricaded that off. I consider it unsafe, hoping that I was going to, in a fairly short period of time, build a new facility which would then allow the demolition of that area. But yeah, in my opinion, the facility really needs to be done.
Right. And last question, Mr Mayor.
Yeah.
If the design was done in-house, how come we've gone out for a design and construct?
No, but sorry, we just went out for construct. So the design was done in-house. The tender was just for the construction.
No, it says design and construct in the recommendation.
Can I
Peter?
jump in there?
Yeah,
I just
Peter.
think that's just poorly worded. It's the actual capital budget.
Yeah, that's the capital budget title.
Gracemere Waste for Transfer Station Design. So that's the title used in the capital budget. Okay.
Yeah. So the $3.5 million being the total project value includes the design cost as well,
Which is done in-house.
which was done in-house.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Smith?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Michael. I'm quite okay with you doing it in-house because we built a few now, a few waste transfer stations. Hasn't it already been delayed? I remember this being in the budget years ago. The capping was delayed, wasn't it? That money was taken out and put to other capital projects. I'm glad to see we're finally doing the capping because we do have neighbouring residences that aren't that far away that have, made us aware that there's a lot of dust and everything coming off. I suppose my question is, do we grass that area or grow trees straight away, or what happens after all the clay has been put on? Because grass and trees don't grow well in clay.
Through the chair, is that for the capping or for the transfer station?
For the capping, yeah.
So for the capping, the whole facility will be seeded. So on top of the cap, there's actually then a subsoil layer, and then on top of the subsoil layer, there's a topsoil layer. They should be placed within the next 2 months, and then come spring, we'll be seeding and irrigating that capped surface to get that grass growing. For the transfer station as well, Michael Ramsey's done a full landscape design for it as well, so I'm quite confident that it's going to look pretty good at the end.
Yeah, thanks for that, Michael, because you called it agricultural, I just called it untidy. And I think the contractors have had to work in some challenging environment at times, so I think they'll be happy to see it all tidied up and some landscaping put in. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Kirkland and Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Michael, so the total cost is 3.5. What was your original budget? So the original budgeted amount for that was in what we would have already seen?
The original budget was $2.25 million.
Okay, perfect. So I do have a question around whether this, I mean, it's a considerable jump in what your estimation was. Do you have any reasoning behind that outside of the cross-escalation of construction materials costing?
No, not really, councillor. That, you know, we did receive more than 2 submissions, and even the price across those multiple submissions varied by $1.5 million.
So there was a variance in the submissions of 1.5 million.
Correct.
Okay, then my question would be, if we're taking this final amount, is there a contingency in there for any cost blowouts? What is the chance of a cost blowout?
Within that budget allowance that I'm seeking today, there is a $300,000 contingency to cover any unknowns, which is possible. We're working on an old landfill site. They are very unpredictable. As we start placing clay to try and get to the final design profiles, we don't know whether we're going to observe additional settlement across that site as we apply compaction equipment, etc. So we do have a $300K contingency in there.
Thanks, Michael. Michael, that difference of 1.5 million between tendering, for me, that sounds like a lot. Is that a lot in the terms of what you're doing? And was it? Could you put your finger on what the difference was?
For the total value of this contract, I would say $1.5 million is quite a high variance. I can't really put my finger on it. Look, you know, I was on the tender assessment panel. I looked at the pricing in some detail and the individual bill of quantity items to see whether there may have been a misunderstanding or anything like that between tenderers, and I don't think there was. I just think that's the way they chose to price it.
So have we taken the cheapest or the middle one or the most expensive one?
The cheapest, but I would also say that it was, price aside, it was also the strongest submission that we received. So it was pleasing to see that across the board in our assessment, the preferred tenderer scored the highest in every aspect, and we were quite fortunate, I'm going to say, that they were also provided the best value for money.
Excellent.
Thanks very much, Michael. Councillor Fisher, then Councillor Latcham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this is, you know, when you read the initial cost variation, it's quite a shock. I was fortunate 2 months ago, was taken by the Manager of Waste and Recycling of Townsville Regional Council to tour their new facilities that they've either just constructed or in the process of construction. And they also experienced some considerable unexpected sort of cost variations from the design work to the tender process. And it seems like this is the new world that we're in, that the cost blowouts on a lot of materials are providing sort of a lot of pain for the likes of local governments on that side. But the thing is, I don't think that pain is finished yet. I think sometimes these projects, if we say put it back for 12 months, we'll be asking for another amount just as much again on top of it. I think this is sort of something there that with, you know, like some of those other projects, Mr Mayor, that you've sort of strongly recommend in the budget, we've got to take this little bit of pain, because otherwise there it's going to be a whole lot more. The second thing I'd like to sort of mention is that the capping and the vegetation, the phytoremediation of landfills, I still think there's a lot of work in that area that needs to be done. I know Griffith University are doing a project at the moment, but we still end up with these sort of grassy knolls with limited vegetation, whereas, you know, I know that you know, in Europe they've actually recreated natural bushland, natural vegetation, and meet all of their stringent environmental rules. So I am hoping, as we progress in the future, that Queensland sort of suddenly becomes a little bit more inspired by what they're achieving in Europe and some of the other countries, that we actually see a landfill that doesn't just look like a bold hill, but actually recreates something even better than what they started with. So I'm quite hopeful that that'll be something in the future. But at this stage, I think we're pushing the boundary even to the vegetation that we're putting on the clay capping. And I commend that, but I would love to see it even far more.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Peter, did you have a comment on that, or did you see it pop online?
Yeah, look, I was just going to say, if there's any more questions relating to the budget and the project, I suggest we go into confidential or something, because we are in the middle of a tender procurement process, and these things probably shouldn't be discussed in open council too much.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter. Councillor Wickerson, question? Oh, sorry, Councillor Latcham.
I'll go finish.
No, you're after you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I was just going to say I support the recommendation here today. Yes, I was concerned with a lot of the questions that are raised this morning. I have had a chance to talk to Michael about, and I'm satisfied that obviously it's the world we live in, where things are going up with inflation and everything else. It has its pressures, be it fuel, be it cost of materials, and unfortunately this is where we're heading, and I fear for where we're heading with other big projects that we're doing, whether it will have a 30% increase on our budget that we've allocated for it. So this is just one, probably the tip of the iceberg, I guess, what we're going to experience in the future. So unfortunately, at this stage, but happy to support this motion. I think it would be a great project to have finalised, and I'm sure the residents of Gracemere will appreciate it.
Thanks, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Wickerson?
Thanks, Mayor. I understand too the increase of it, as much of it is a shock when we're going through other considerations of the budget, but I'm just wondering out loud, we have some really clever staff. We do concrete bridges and culverts and pathways and all sorts of other work. Do we have the capacity, or could we get to the capacity to be able to do this sort of project in-house? We've done the design in-house, but traditionally we've sent that out.
Peter, did you want to go into this one with closed session if we're going to get...
No, I can answer this. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor.
We have benchmarked ourselves against this type of project, and we are considerably more expensive than the contracts. We've done this a number of times now.
Thanks, Peter.
Yep, that answers it. Yep,
thank you. Okay, councillors, Councillor Latcham, you're happy to move. Could I seek a seconder? Councillor Smith, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much for that report, Michael. Moving on to item 10.5, the 22-23 Fitzroy River Water Performance Plan. Peter, would you like to present that report, please?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. This is just much the same report as you received earlier for Waste and Airport. It is only seeking Council's endorsement to include it into the operational plan. It really is just to expose Council prior to the final reports being submitted of the content. Now, the reason this went up a month later is I did take the time to go through this performance plan and just compare it to other water authorities. The end result is there's been very little change to the plan, and it is very similar to last year's plan, but there is an intent over the coming 12 months to continue to review this and improve on its reporting capability.
Thanks very much, Peter. Councillor Kirkland is the portfolio spokesperson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of questions and observations in the plan, Peter. This one in the overview on the very first or second page there. In the overview, it says that there's $1,005.1 billion of asset there. Is that right? That's like
yes.
$1 trillion.
Yes, that's right.
That's amazing, isn't it? Huge. I sat and thought about it and I thought it was possible, but I wanted to ask the question just to make sure that there wasn't an error. So $1 trillion worth of asset.
Yes.
The second question that I have is on page 15 of the report. It says here properties served, so it's just the nature and scope of the activity. It's got 30th of June 2021. Can we have that updated to 2022 or not?
I'm not sure we've got the figures for that yet. That's why it's last year's figures, okay?
Okay, perfect. Page 18. Just under the long-term continuity of water services. And that system water loss, does that include reservoirs and public pools?
Oh, I would have to take that on notice. I actually believe that is no. Actually, it's a connection loss. This is so it's actually the individual households. I don't think it would be the reservoir.
Okay, so is there any measurements around if we have that sort of a thing happening? Is there a way to measure that? Just thinking of Mount Morgan Pool and
Mount Morgan Pool is a connection, so it will be picked up. It's not normal to have leaking reservoirs, so we don't have an indicator for that, okay? I think the best answer I can have is that we will make sure they're repaired, okay?
Awesome. And finally on page 20, just under the sewage there, it's got the combined line charges and the raising access chambers. They're identical price? Is that just coincidence? Or is that an error? It's just coincidence?
No, just coincidence, yeah.
Okay, and in the column just under the sporting bodies sewage access, it says for water charges, would that be, is that meant to be sewage charges in the objective?
It could well be an error there, yeah. Yep, I'll check that, yep.
Very noisy here, so I'm not quite sure if everybody's hearing all of that. And just on the, sorry, page 21, treatment of surplus and losses. Was there a recommendation endorsed in 2020 to have that changed, or is that still happening?
That is still happening, yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillor Wickerson?
No.
Oh, Councillor Smith?
Councillor Rutherford.
Councillor Rutherford.
I just want
Work my way down, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Rutherford?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. It was page 15 also, and it was our water, and it's got 29 megalitres. I'm guessing that's what we treat that goes through the treatment plant. Why do we not put our full allocation in there?
Peter, is there a reason we don't have our total allocation indicated in the report, or it's just the treated?
Well, the allocation is not what we're trying to measure. We're trying to measure how much we actually are treating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there a reason why it couldn't be in there?
Well, we could put our allocation, but it's a fixed number.
Yeah.
Which this is trying to give a measure of effectively costs in treatment costs in supplying water to the community.
Yeah.
Is it included as an asset?
The allocation?
Yeah.
Yes, the allocation is shown as an asset within the asset management plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Smith, then Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I just reading it again for the 6th time. I was a bit mistaken because I just read page 24 about Fletcher's Creek Water Supply Scheme, and I'm thinking, I thought all that equipment wasn't in use, but it is actually raw and untreated water, so I presume it comes from our sewage treatment plant and is filtered and then goes to a customer in that Fletcher's Creek area.
Councillor Smith, where are you reading that?
Just right at the end of page 24.
Yes, there must be some local supply to some, as you said, raw water to some farm properties.
Yeah, I think
Evan, did you have a...
Yeah, if I think I recall, I think it might be to the golf club or for the golf club.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Because there is no, the equipment, as you said, the assets are not there in fit state to work, so they can't be treating it.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wickerson?
Thanks, Mayor. Through you to Peter. Peter, this is on page 26 of the agenda or 22 of your report, under proposed major investments. Just need some clarification around that. The first one, the barrage, 0.6 million,
Yep.
that's not the raising. Is that the other structural investigations we're doing, or...?
Yes, that's design consultancy type
Okay.
money to look at the stability and strengthening of the barrage. And also it does include the feasibility component of raising, but it's not physical work.
Okay. So just probably following up, when are we looking at doing the raising? Is that following the 23-24 budget? Can't recall.
Yeah, look, we haven't got a date planned for that. We want to first understand how costly and what we need to do to ensure it's stable. Yeah. And we also have a fairly lengthy approval process. Yeah. So it's some time out before we will consider the raising.
Okay, no, understood. The next two, water pump station, 2.5 million, and water reservoirs, 3.8. Is that separate to what we're looking at Gracemere? And does Gracemere come under water security a bit further down the table?
Yes, water security, 22 million is the Mount Morgan pipeline. The pump stations, including Gracemere, are in that, and reservoir are in that 2.5 and 3.8 figures.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wickerson. Councillor Mathers?
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Just through you to Peter. Peter, on that same page in regards to the 3.8 million for the water reservoirs, you just sort of said that's including Gracemere. Are we confident that that figure is going to be enough to cover the, I'm aware that we've got quite a bit of work to do with the north side and south side reservoirs here in Rocky. Do we think the 3.8 will cover that?
Okay, that's a good question. We are still looking at the design and what we need to do for repairs. There is some other money which is allocated to roof repairs, and it may not be included in that water reservoirs. So, to answer your question, at this stage, I think we have sufficient funds.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify that, so the roof isn't included in the 3.8, that's somewhere else?
I just need to check that. I'll make sure it should be added to there, and it may not be, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, if there are no further questions to the report or to the officer, we might, I'll seek a mover in a second with the officer's recommendation that we approve in principle the Fitzroy River Water 22-23 annual performance plan for inclusion in the 22-23 operational plan. Seek a mover.
I'm happy to move.
Oh, sorry, Donna. Yes, sorry.
Chair.
Yep, as the chair, move Councillor Kirkland. Do seek a seconder? Councillor Rutherford. We'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Peter. Councillors, I'd like to move that we leave this matter on the table. I just have some discussions with some of the mayors in the region. I'm just a little bit unsure where we're going with this one at the moment, so I've just got to do some networking, and if I can leave that on the council table to be considered at the 5th of July meeting, I'm happy to move as recommended with that. I need a seconder. Councillor Fisher, happy to second. Councillors, like I mentioned, it's one that I've got to do some more discussions with, and we'll come back to that further meeting. There's no urgency at this point. So I'll Councillor Mathers.
Mr Mayor, sorry, I just wanted to say that I'm happy to support that as well. I had quite a few questions that in regards to that as well, so I'm pleased to see you putting some more time and thought into it.
Yep, thank you. Okay, well, if there's no further questions, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.7, the summary budget management report for the period ending 31st of May 2022. I'll hand over to Marnie to present the report. Thanks very much, Marnie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone. So this is, we're bringing forward the summary budget management report to this meeting because at the final June meeting, we're actually going to do a monthly budget review for the year and present that to council at quite a high level. So we had this report prepared relatively early in June, so we thought we'd present it to this meeting. So effectively, council is just presenting the period ended 31st of May summary budget management report. We're sitting at 91.7% of our budget. Our operating revenue is sitting at over 99% of our monthly budget review. Rates and charges are sitting around 97%. I think a key factor within our rates and charges, councillors, is around our water supply consumption. That appears to be down, and we'll deal with that at the next meeting in terms of how much income we didn't achieve for the period or for the year. Grants and subsidies contributions are ahead of budget at 115%, and that's due mainly to the receipt of what we're now understanding is 75% of the federal assistance grant for the 22-23 financial year. There is still some more work going on in the background in relation to allocations of that grant, and so yeah, that's what we've currently recorded in our current financial year. Other income is at 112% of the revised budget, and that's due mainly to other grants and subsidies that council's received. Our operating expenditure is sitting at 87% of the monthly budget. Employee costs are below budget at 85% due to a number of vacancies. Consultants and contractors are sitting at 81%, so they're due to it's below budget due to the timing of those works planned during the year. Materials and plant we're seeing at above budget at 103%. Due to the increased level of recoverable works with an offsetting revenue item for those recoverable works and other operational costs. Asset operational is at 84% due to electricity cleaning and security costs being below budget for year to date, but that's due mainly to the timing of the receipt of those billings, and our admin expenses are below budget at 72%. Capital income for the period is at 63% of the monthly budget review, and our capital expenditure is at 45%, with 7.9 million spent on our capital budget during May, so a total of 74.5 million has been spent this financial year. We'll be looking at the timing of some of those major projects and have already done so through our recent budget reviews. Our current investments are sitting at 103.2 million and loans are at 126.4 at the end of the month.
Okay, thanks very much, Marnie. Questions, councillors? Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mayor. I have two questions for you to Marnie. The first one is on page 33 of the report, or 37 of the agenda, under grants and subsidies. It says that it's been fully sent through to council, but I thought we only spoke yesterday that all councils had received 75% up front. Did I mishear yesterday?
No, we've received our financial assistance grant. It's equated to 75% of our 21-22 allocation, Councillor Wickerson. So that's what we've received already. But of course, there's still that contention around our financial assistance grant amount and the reduction that we've previously been advised of from the Grants Commission, that we would be losing 25% of our grant. So if we work backwards, we're effectively receiving all of the grant already. Which, yeah, it's complicated, and we still don't have any further advice from the department in terms of the payment of that grant that occurred early in May. So, yeah.
Okay, no, thank you. And the second one and final one on the next page, total capital expenditure, and I think you might have mentioned just then, at 45% of the budget.
Yeah.
Given that we haven't got much of the year left, we're confident that we're going to get those major projects through?
I guess through the Chair, Councillor Wickerson, what we've been doing through our capital program and our discussions that we've already had is that we've been looking at what that budget will look like to close out the year, which will be lower than from what the current adopted budget is. It's going to probably be around the 110 million mark, but even so, we've only spent 74.5 of that. So there will still be a shortfall. We expect that we'll have some accruals and some expenditure that will occur allocated to this part of the financial year. However, we will see adjustments for carryovers, I think, coming forward going forward into next year. So we'll see our budgets that we're looking at for next year possibly increase because of those carryover amounts and the timing of that expenditure.
Yeah. Okay, no, thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Wickerson. Councillor Rutherford?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering whether that's something we can look at during our next budget discussion, because depending what projects they are, you know, we're talking about a significant carryover, which will have, you know, a huge impact on next year's projects as well. So maybe to look and see whether those projects are going to be reasonably easy to complete, or whether they're going to chew into next year and next financial year as to what we need to allocate.
I think that's important. We will need to just get an understanding about that ripple moving forward, so to speak. So, and with those major projects, it was going to happen, but yeah, we just need to have a full understanding what the impacts of that, what that means. We can do that. Councillors, any further questions to Marnie's report? I'm happy to move as recommended and seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Rutherford. I'll put those in favour. Those opposed, motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 10.8, the proposed fees and charges 22-23. Marnie, you've got that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So presented to Council are the proposed fees and charges for 22-23. You will note, councillors, that there was a summary of those proposed changes that were presented with the report and have been previously presented to prior meetings. I will take that summary as being read unless there's some specific questions that are relating to particular items within the fees and charges. Also attached was the schedule of fees and charges for any questions that council may have had in relation to those. Otherwise, I will take that as being read as well.
Councillor Latcham, question?
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and through to Marnie, if I may. Marnie, the question I've got is regarding cemeteries and why there is different prices for different cemeteries when I'm just trying to get an understanding. So I'd imagine that it would cost more money to do a burial out of Bajul, for example, than it would North Rockhampton or Rockhampton, or North Rockhampton, or the Memorial Gardens, but yet the prices are so much dearer in Rockhampton than they are at Bajul, for example. I would have thought that was something we could have had an equalisation of fees across the region. Was one area that could be looked at, but just wanted to get your thoughts on why they're cheaper outside in the rural areas as opposed to Rockhampton area.
I'm not sure whether I can respond to this or whether Alicia would like to.
You able to help with that one, Alicia?
So, drawing on my work experience rather than the current situation. So, in, the cemeteries equalisation of prices is not something that we've embarked on. A lot of those prices relate to historical levels. So when we were sort of amalgamated, a lot of the more rural areas or those areas were cheaper. Some of the pricing around the Memorial Gardens particularly represented a lot of the investment in there, and the same can be said for some of the Rockhampton cemeteries. So it was always at a higher price than the other areas, and we've just maintained that historical pricing because it comes back to, you know, what those areas or what sort of price increase those areas can bear. So we haven't actually embarked on that equalisation process.
And it it's to do with probably the gardens and all the
Well,
facilities.
certainly the standard of the facilities that are in there, but yeah.
But, and thank you for that explanation. I'm assuming it's a legacy item from past, but I'm assuming that there's more capacity in the Rockhampton ones than Bejewel, for example, or is that because obviously less to maintain at Bejewel as opposed to and keep a higher standard in the Rockhampton cemetery?
Can't speak for Rockhampton. So remembering, councillors, that Rockhampton is basically, as of now, got no capacity, you know, like it's very limited. So we're looking for future burial options in the Rockhampton area. Gracemere is the area that will have the most capacity because of the development that we've just recently undertaken there.
Okay, so just a suggestion, maybe something we do look at in the future for an equalisation, because one region is the mantra, and it's something I would have thought was fairly consistent no matter where you get buried. So just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Latcham. Councillor Kirkland, then Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just looking at, there's a fee, and I apologise, it's in page, I think it's 52 of the agenda, and it's about commercial use of roads, personal transportation devices, including but not limited to electric scooters, electric bikes, segways, hoverboards, and other similar means of personal transportation. Could I have someone from the department that's come up with this fee to just flesh it out a little bit for me?
Yep. Alicia, would have that one?
Councillor Kirkland, it's Alicia here. I would suggest that fee is the one that relates to our Neuron and our electric scooters and the use of those. So when you're talking about parking the scooters on the side of the roads and having those things available for commercial use, that is the fee that associates with them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mine relate to, it's in civil ops, there's 5 new fees. There's no page numbers, so I'm not sure what page I'm on. It talks about private water pipeline, application only. It has an estimated approved cost of works of $30,000 or less. Is that where, say, Gracemere, where someone is connecting in that semi-rural area and we do the works from the footpath to the house? Would that be... I'm just trying to think of where we'd be doing private
Peter,
water pipeline applications.
Yeah, might just ask Peter, are you able to answer that one? Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did hear the question. Did you say it was civil ops or FRW?
It's under civil ops.
Comes under civil ops on page 21.
Yeah, so this would normally, sorry Peter.
Oh, sorry, page 21, yeah.
Yeah, this would normally be where a person may have a property on one side, wants to put, and has a property on the other side, and they want to put a pipeline across or under the road. That type of arrangement it is. So it could be a river on one side and a property over there. So it's the application actually go under the road.
So at the present moment, they don't pay any application fee?
And we also sometimes find them at the back of the grader as well. So yeah, I think there is no fee there, Councillor Smith.
Okay. The next one, yeah, so I was with a retaining wall building, etc. I would have thought there's already an application fee and wondering why we're putting an extra $220 on top of an application, say, for a retaining wall was the one that sort of jumped out at me.
Not sure whether we got anyone from planning in that. We might have to take that one on notice, Councillor.
And just the next one, I wondered when we would ever close a footpath, partial or full, when a person, member of the public, would actually close a footpath.
So we've had a couple of those, sorry Councillor Smith, through the chair, we've had a couple of those where they do having a roofing job, for example, in the commercial precincts. They've closed the footpath of the road.
Okay.
They put a skip bin out there, so there's that partial closure. That's probably the example.
Yeah, okay. So the next one I sort of didn't understand, the grazing, short term, less than 12 months. The $220, is that per beast or per application per year? It just says each $220. I
Yeah,
just,
with the application.
The application, I don't imagine.
just the
there'd be per
application.
head.
I would have thought there was already a fee anyway,
It's within the road reserve, that's the purpose of it.
in a road reserve.
Yeah, it's within the local government controlled areas and roads, so it's under the civil operations, that's why.
Okay, so it's not on land that we have paddocks everywhere and
It's
we
not
lease them out for
agistment, no,
grazing?
it's not agistment,
It's
councillor.
not that.
So, for example, again, would be where a property owner wants to put an electric fence out on the road reserve, has a bit of green feed out there, so they make application to council to actually use that, fence that bit off.
Do they? They just put up the
Supposed
fence
to.
normally.
They're supposed to.
Yeah, the long paddock,
Because
yeah.
we do, yeah, the long paddock, yeah.
Yeah,
We do have in some occasions where they do fence probably a little bit too close to the road, so it becomes a dangerous situation.
Okay. Just the other one was just other, and I thought, other. It just seemed to, what is other? Oh, private works quote, okay. Yep, no worries, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor
fine
Smith. Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, mine was on the grazing as well, because I thought the majority of the time was when, usually in drought, and the paddocks had all been eaten. And I thought it was general practice that the cattle were allowed out onto the road reserves. I'm just wondering why we'd be charging a fee now when it's usually in drought time.
Peter, would you able to help with that one?
Yeah, I can. Well, as far as I'm aware, we've always had this fee, and we do establish it as a way of controlling that when stock are put onto road reserves, we want to know and understand where it is and how it's fenced appropriately. So that's why the fee exists, and it happens, reasonably regularly.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Kirkland?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to ask what, on line 37, what entire animal registration is.
That's not a desexed animal. Entire is a whole. Yeah. Got everything. I think that's it.
Oh, okay.
Has all its parts.
So an intact animal registration. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillors, if there's no further questions to that one, that was a great way to segue to head into the officer's recommendation that the requirements that we adopt the fees and charges for the schedule for 22-23 financial year. Councillor Fisher?
I'm happy to move.
Yep, move Councillor Fisher.
Can I ask, if at the same time, some of these fees and charges there would be really, would be good if we could have some associated media. And I was thinking in the waste and recycling, in particular on mattresses, of actually encouraging people that, of separating the mattresses so that can actually make quite a difference, and just explaining the figures. And I think there was a few other points in those fees and charges that we could explain to the public.
Yep.
But happy to move as recommended.
Good point. Thank you. Seek a seconder. Councillor Latcham. I'll put those in favour. Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillor, we have a supplementary item there that we'll go to at 10.9. Sorry, I might have the wrong one. Just give me a minute, councillor, while yep, the 10.9, the boundary review submission, councillors. Who's the officer presenting that one?
No one really, Mr Mayor.
No
I
one
can
there.
go through it. So, Council, this is just seeking your retrospective endorsement of the submission that we submitted to the Local Government Change Commission. May.
In May.
Yeah, May.
Okay. Councillor Rutherford?
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to move that. I'd like to add and that we thank the officers for the outstanding work that went into that submission.
Yeah, no, good point. Okay, move Councillor Rutherford. Do we have a seconder? I'm happy to. Oh, Councillor Latcham. We'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Rutherford, for that, adding that item. The ordinary council agenda supplementary, the confidential, or no notice of motions, councillors, no questions or notice, no urgent business. We might move into confidential items on the agenda, councillors. We have, within accordance with the provision of section 254J3, the Local Government Regulations 2012, the local government may resolve to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items such as councillors or members considered necessary to close the meeting. Councillors' recommendation there are 15.1, the Smart Hub operations, and 15.2, Memorandum of Understanding consideration. Can I have a mover and a seconder that we move into closed session? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Rutherford. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously, and that we move into closed session. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Rutherford. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. We'll move into closed session.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
And councillors, the officer's recommendation there with the Smart Hub operations. Are we live? Yep. Could I seek a mover and a seconder with regards to that recommendation? Move Councillor Wickerson, seconded Councillor Rutherford. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, Councillor Latcham has a declaration we need to record.
Yes, Mr Mayor. As I declared earlier, a perceived...
It's not a perceived.
Sorry, a declarable conflict of interest under item 15.2, Memorandum of Understanding Consideration. This conflict arises as I have received hospitality from Beef Australia 2021.
That is over the...
That is over the $500 limit.
Yeah.
Okay, and you...
And I'll choose to leave the room.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Latcham. Yep, if you just move to the... Okay, councillors, the officer's recommendation is that council endorse the signing of a memorandum of understanding. I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll invite Councillor Latcham back to the room. Councillors, there be no further items on the agenda. I'd like to thank everyone for your participation today and the officers for presenting those reports. Thank you, and I'll close the meeting.
I think Alicia wants to just catch councillors quickly, Alicia, including Councillor Kirkland.